Hi, boys and girls, and grown-ups too. Today I'm going to read a story to you called The Invisible Leash. And it's a little bit about a sad time in our lives when we lose a pet, a favorite animal, or when we lose a friend. Like many of you lost a friend whose name is Joan McFadden, who was a teacher in a church school for over 20 years, and she died this past summer. And some of you came to her funeral when we celebrated her life. And I'd like to read you the story now called The Invisible Leash. And it's written by Patricia Karst, and it's illustrated by Joanne Lou Vreithoff, but it's illustrated digitally, which I thought was interesting. The Invisible Leash by Patrice Karst. Ready to go, Zach? Emily asked her friend. It was Friday, and the rest of the kids were already racing home from school, excited for the weekend. Zach shook his head. He just wanted to be alone. Okay, but let's hang out at the treehouse later, Emily said, leaving him at his desk. The only thoughts in Zach's mind were of Jojo as he slung his heavy backpack over his shoulder and slowly headed home. This weekend, Jojo wouldn't be there. Jojo had been Zach's best friend in the whole world. They played frisbee on the weekends. Together, they hiked the hills and trails near Zach's house. And when the moon was full, they howled together as it smiled down upon them. Mom and Dad tried to cheer Zach up with his favorite rainbow cupcakes, but Jojo wasn't there to steal the very last bite. Cupcakes aren't the same without Jojo, Zach said, and pushed his plate away. We'll adopt another dog as soon as you're ready, buddy, Dad reassured him. But Zach wasn't interested. No other dog, Dad, never! I just want Jojo back. Zach stomped off, and when his bedroom door slammed, it shook the whole house with sad. Before dinner, Emily came by to see if Zach could play. Hey, what's wrong, Zach? Why didn't you meet me at the treehouse? Come over. Emily tugged playfully at Zach's arm, and they began to wind their way through the neighborhood. But Zach dragged his feet. Jojo died this week. He got old and sick. Now I'll never see him again, not ever. And he started to cry. Emily understood. It's okay, Zach. I cried so hard when Rexy died too. But then I heard the news. Zach was curious. What news? Emily had a sparkle in her eye. Oh, just the very best news ever. Rexy and I will always be connected, Emily continued, just like you and Jojo. Huh? Zach blinked. That makes no sense. How can you be connected to someone that's gone? Emily held out her hands. Because they're not all the way gone. See? Zach squinted and stared, but he only saw the air. Are you playing a trick on me? Because I can't see a thing. I know, but the invisible leash is the realest thing in the whole wide world, Zach. When our pets aren't here anymore, An invisible leash connects our hearts to each other forever. Zach folded his arms across his chest. I only believe in things I can see. A sudden gust of warm breeze blew right through Emily's hair, and she laughed. But Zach, don't you believe in the wind? Even if you can't see the invisible leash, you can feel it. That's what we found out the night that Rexy died. Zach was getting annoyed. There is no such thing as an invisible leash. Grandpa said Grandpa told him about the leash when he was a little boy and his dog Louie died. He said it stretches to this place beyond where our eyes can see, all the way to where our pets have gone. I like this. Yeah, right. That's totally impossible. Zach laughed even though nothing felt funny. None of this seems like it could be real. But oh, how he wished it could be. How could Rexy have an invisible leash? She's a cat. You never walked her on a leash. Not when she was alive, but she has an invisible leash now, just like my sister's bird Cuckoo and my brother's hamster Fred. Well, Jojo didn't really like his leash. He loved running free, Zach figured he'd stumped Emily this time. But she still had an answer. It's not a leash that ties our bodies. It's a leash that connects our hearts. When you love an animal and they love you back, that gives the invisible leash the magic power of infinity to stretch from here all the way to the beyond. Zach wanted to know more. Where exactly is the beyond? Do you mean like another planet way out in space? There and everywhere, answered Emily. Grandpa says the beyond can even be all around us. He said that we'd spend the rest of our lives learning that we feel the most important and truest things in the world in our hearts and don't need to see them with our eyes. That's what it means to believe. I wish I could believe, Emily. I wish that so much. Zach began to wonder as they watched the moon rising over the valley. He remembered how much he and Jojo loved the full moon. When Jojo misses me, would I feel him tug the invisible leash, just like when I used to walk him? Yup, says Emily, and it works both ways. When I miss Rexy, I tug on the invisible leash, and sometimes I can even hear her purr. For real, asked Zach, looking his friend in the eye. For very real, answered Emily. And when she added, cross my heart, Zach knew how much she meant it. Warm winds swirled around the two friends, gazing at the evening sky. Frogs croaked and crickets started chirping as the stars began to gather. Soon a smile widened across Zach's face. Emily, what if Jojo and Rexy have been looking at the very same moon we're looking at? So they're with us right now. Oh, Zach, she jumped up. I never thought of that before. The very same moon. Now I feel Rexy tugging her invisible leash this exact second. These are the invisible leashes. Zach had one last question. Em, what does an invisible tug feel like? Like love, said Emily. Zach's heart started to feel all kinds of warm. Well, I think maybe I can feel Jojo tugging me from the beyond. Right now? Asked Emily. Very right now, answered Zach. They sat there for a long time with no words. Then, when it was time for dinner, they hugged goodbye, and the moon lit up Zach's pathway home. Later that night, Zach looked again at the moon, now glowing full and bright in his window. He was almost positive that he could hear the sound of Jojo beginning to howl, just like he used to. And so he joined in. When they were done, Zach saw Jojo's sparkling brown eyes looking deeply into his. This did not feel like any dream. This felt real. And for the first time since Jojo died, Zach fell asleep happy. Somewhere even higher than the moon, in a place called the Beyond, Jojo and Rexy watched their people, Zach and Emily, as they slept. Jojo ran in circles and barked with joy. We love our people so much. Rexy rolled on the grass, purring. When our people are happy, we feel happy too. The other animals were celebrating alongside them. One day, the children of the world would know the truth about their invisible leashes, which let their animals run free but connect their hearts forever. One day, those children would teach others how to believe in the things that they could feel, yet not quite see. It was the still of night. Zach, Emily, and the rest of the world's children were now fast asleep in their cozy, comfy beds. And as the moon smiled down upon them from high above, it lit up the millions and billions of invisible leashes, connecting them all. The end of the Invisible Leash story. I really, really liked that story because it really helped me to understand the people and the animals who I've lost during my life. And I was thinking it would be nice to draw a picture of someone who you know, who you've lost, or an animal, and then make a pretend leash that you could connect yourself to your animal. You could even use a piece of string if you wanted to, and put the glue on, and then have the string lay on the glue, and then draw a picture of yourself on the page. See you for the next spirit story. Bye-bye.